I obviously don't normally talk about this stuff because I guess I want to avoid bringing outside world things into like what I talk about because I don't want to be annoying. It's kind of annoying when you have a channel on like gaming or something and then the person just constantly starts getting involved in like political shit. That's kind of annoying. I just wanted to talk about this thing because I guess it means a lot to me, which I'll explain why and just from my past experience. And it really concerns me, and not to sound corny, but the whole social media thing and like requiring ID to use social media and like keeping children safe from social media. That's the reason they'll give you. And it just actually keeps me up at night. Like I'm not I'm not trying to be corny or like dramatic, but it literally keeps me up at night. And I know I don't know if you are aware of this, I assume you are, but there's suddenly a global coordinated push to require ID to use social media and like start implementing laws for that. And in the UK, I guess it's more broader than social media, and it's they want to require ID to look at any harmful content on the internet, what the government deems harmful, to protect children, of course. These laws are to protect children. I will just focus on the social media ID laws in Australia. Of course, Australia is a small country. There's only like 25 million or so people here, so that it may not be relevant to you, but I think it will be because it seems every country in the world is trying to push to implement this. And so for Australia, this law actually comes into effect in like a few days, and that to keep under 16s off the internet, they will have to verify your age. And a lot of these big social media websites will have to verify your age using ID or getting a photo of your face and using AI to like scan it and see if you're over 16 or whatever. I apologize if I sound kind of depressed or whatever. This shit actually does make me pretty depressed. But I think it is saddening that people will make their cute little infographic Instagram slides about wars over the other side of the world, their gender identity, their politics and whatever, and AI is bad and Palantir is bad, the surveillance state is bad, and all those are completely valid. But when there's a coordinated push to require your ID to use social media, no one says anything and no one is outraged at all. There is literally nothing said about it. And I remember bringing this up in Discord, and I saw some people talking about the social media ID laws, and they were all saying it's really good because we want to protect children from the harms of social media and whatever, which is valid. But when I asked them, how do you think this is going to be enforced? Do you realize that every adult will have to give their ID or give a photo of their fucking face that is scanned by AI to confirm their age? Do you think that is good for everyone to have to do? That will literally remove privacy and any chance of being anonymous from the internet. And I know people talk about as well, oh, well, the websites and the Google and whatever, the companies already have my ID anyways. They already know who I am. So is that really good justification to normalize having to upload a government issued ID to use social media just under the guise of protecting the kids and protecting the kids from the harm of social media? Now, there's just so many things wrong with this. That's the main issue. I don't know how people can find that normal. And people make comparisons to, oh, you have to give ID to buy alcohol. You have to give ID to buy cigarettes. I don't see how giving ID to buy cigarettes is the same as giving your ID to use a platform where you can get information and share your thoughts to the world. I don't see how that's a good comparison. And I think it creates a very dangerous slippery slope, and I know people dislike that word now because it's a fallacy and like slippery slope fallacy. Do you think it's good? Or rather, what do you think it will be like where children grow up in a world where it is normalized for them to have to give their ID to post something on the internet? What do you think's going to happen when it's normal that people grow up in a world where they have to give government ID to use a chat room? They have to give government ID to connect with people on the internet. That is just my thought on that, and quite frankly, I find that retarded. And I'm more concerned about what happens when those children end up in government and what they're going to think is normal. But I don't want to get into too long-term stuff, so I'll focus on more short-term things. And I want to ask you, if you think this law is very good because it's going to protect children from the harms of social media, and you support your current government that is implementing this law, are you not concerned what could happen when a government comes into power that you disagree with and you don't like? Are you not concerned what will happen when a government that you think is bad is in power, while at the same time you have to give your government issued ID that they gave you, you have to give that ID to just use social media? Are you not concerned with where that could lead in the future, on how that can be used to track you better online? So that just concerns me. I have some stuff written down here because it kind of makes my mind feel retarded talking about this. And I do think, I understand people really do want to protect children, but I'm sorry, I may be cynical, but I don't think that is the government intention. I think they're scared that people have such free access to information, and I think they want to better control the flow of information. I say this because the number one lobbyer of the underage social media ban was News Corp, owned by Rupert Murdoch. Yes, Rupert Murdoch is actually, I don't know if you know this, but a lot of people consider him one of the most evil people ever. And he runs News Corp. Once again, I'm not even going to share my opinions on his companies or him as a person. I don't give a fuck. All I'm asking you is, why would a company, a news corporation, why would they be the number one lobbyer to the government for an underage social media ban? Do you not think it's maybe because they see that all children are now not depending on legacy media for information, and all children now can go and get information and search whatever they want? Do you not think it works in the government's and the billion-dollar news corporations' favor when you ban people from social media or have to require people's ID for social media, which will no doubt reduce the amount of adults using it as well. What does that mean? That means the only way a child is going to get information is from looking at legacy news media, which of course often conveniently leaves out details and conveniently can just choose what to cover, and government-funded schools. Government schools. Those are the only places, besides their parents of course, that children are going to learn anything about the world. And to me, that is incredibly concerning. I obviously have more probably radical views on schools that most people may not agree with. Another thing is, people say, this is good because children should just go outside now. Like the old days. This law is great because children can go and interact with their friends like the old days. And we didn't have a problem with it. We were fine without social media. Well, unfortunately, we don't live in the old days anymore. The whole world revolves around technology. When the whole world revolves around technology, as it does, which, I'm sorry, but the net benefit for society of technology has been really good. I know people like to say it's been very harmful and bad. I'm sorry, but I just feel that things are improved from when they were like 100 or 200 years ago. I'm sorry, fucking crucify me for saying that, but I just feel they are. And I feel people are more comfortable, much more comfortable now. And I'm not gonna get into that whole conversation. But this is not the good old days. This is not the good old days, okay? And that's just the whole other conversation. I think it's kind of ironic that boomers who depended on like 3 big newspaper corporations and the government to get all their information about the world now say that social media has ruined critical thinking skills and social media has ruined your skills to be cynical and get new information about the world, where they literally depended on like 5 sources of information as a child. That's kind of ironic to me. But the reason I said this, I'm sorry I'm kind of ranting. The reason I said this affects me very deeply is because I was bullied a lot as a child. I was bullied so much. And so I went to online places like Discord and I made friends on like Roblox and these games and whatever, and they were the only people I had. And I was suicidal when I was fucking 12. I'm not trying to appeal to your emotions or anything. I'm not trying to appeal to your emotions, okay? I'm just saying my experience and why this means a lot to me. And those were the only people I had. And so I really feel bad. And I guess I empathize more with the kids who are going to be badly affected from this. Because of course, if you're a child who just grew up and you had a lot of friends and you were never bullied and you never had to depend on the internet to have contact and make friends, of course it's going to sound retarded to you, right? But I'm just telling you my experience, so maybe you have another point of view on that. And I would not be here talking to you. I would not, you would not be listening to me ever talk about anything. If you watch me or listen to me talk about anything, that would never have happened if this ban had been in effect like a decade or two decades ago. Because when I was alone and I had to depend on social media and the internet to learn things I wanted to learn. And I had to depend on places like Discord to learn about lucid dreaming and everything I talk about now. And I made the point in my Discord when everyone in my Discord server was saying that they supported the laws. And I said to them, you realize you wouldn't even be talking about it in this server if these laws had been in effect like a decade ago. Because what is a child like me, for example, that I guess was more inclined, like I've always wanted to do technological stuff and be involved with technology and stuff. What am I gonna do? Well, what was I gonna do if there was that social media ban? I couldn't get ID to obviously access that social media. I would have just had to go along with school and everything the government and everything the teachers wanted me to do, and I would have had no friends and I would have had no support. And don't tell me to just go outside and talk to my friends, because everyone fucking hated me. Everyone fucking hated me and bullied me, and have always been a very shy person. That's not because I was on social media. I was shy before I even went on a fucking computer. I'm gonna stop ranting on that, because I don't want to get too personal on that. But I'm tired of the government and everyone treating children like mindless, unconscious drones and treating them like infants. And I find that disgusting. I find that incredibly disgusting. And I saw there was an Instagram post from these two 15-year-olds who filed a high court challenge on the social media ban because their reasoning was that it affected their access to political information ahead of them voting. Of course, yeah, with the social media ban, they're only going to be able to get information from fucking like either right wing or left wing fucking news websites. Like, I'm not even going to get into that, but I just found the comments on their high court challenge post disgusting. And people were telling them just to stay in school. You're 15. You shouldn't be worrying about this shit. Like, were you not conscious as a 15-year-old? Were you really like, it seems everyone thinks 15-year-olds and 16-year-olds, 12-year-olds are fucking dumb. And it's just really disgusting, that attitude. I know this is kind of turned into a rant and like distracted from the main topic, but it actually makes me very like emotional, I guess, and fucks with my head, because I just think it's a really bad slippery slope. And I guess I'm just telling you this to like bring attention to it. And maybe if you support the laws and you think they're really good, to maybe try and give you a different perspective on it and not so blindly go along with it, because it will affect you. Even if you think the laws are really good, you will have to give your fucking ID or have your face scanned with fucking AI to access a social media site, even if you think the laws are really good. Like I said, what are you going to do when a government that you really dislike gets into power and abuses these laws? Obviously, if you have one law like that, you can just keep building upon it and upon it and upon it. Not that I know much about politics, but to me that just seems logical. I don't see how that's a fucking fallacy. But that's all I have to say on that. I apologize, I got kind of emotional about that. It just means a lot to me and it concerns me. So I just want to talk about that. I don't know if you would care about that at all, but goodbye. I love you. Farewell. Farewell.